You break through your shell after 28 days of development, wet and exhausted. The world is harsh and cold, despite your mother's warmth. You're vulnerable, a perfect meal for foxes, snakes, or large fish. Your down isn't waterproof yet, making those first days especially treacherous. Within hours, your mother nudges you toward water. Your siblings who hatched earlier are already stumbling around. 2 eggs in your clutch never hatched, a common tragedy. You don't know it yet, but only 3 of your 8 siblings will survive the first month. The walk to water is your first brush with death. A hawk circles overhead, but your mother's warning calls have you diving under her feathers. Your brother isn't fast enough. He disappears in a flash of talons. Your first lesson in survival: danger comes from above. At the water's edge, instinct takes over. Your tiny webbed feet propel you forward, but you tire quickly. The water feels wrong against your fuzzy down. You can't float properly yet, making you work twice as hard. A large bass swims beneath you, reminding you that danger lurks everywhere. You learn to stay in the shallows where cattails provide cover. Your diet starts with insects your mother shows you how to catch: mosquito larvae, water beetles, small crustaceans. Half the time, they escape your inexperienced bill. Hunger is a constant companion those first weeks. Your siblings compete for every morsel, and you're often pushed aside by the larger ones. By week 3, your waterproof feathers start coming in, replacing your down. The process is uncomfortable, making you itchy and irritable. You learn to preen, but your first attempts are clumsy. Poor waterproofing means you get cold easily, a dangerous state that could lead to hypothermia. Your father left long ago. This is normal for your species, but it means one less set of eyes watching for predators. At night, you huddle under your mother's wing, listening to raccoons prowl the shoreline. One night, they get too close. Your sister panics, breaks away from the group, and you never see her again. As you grow, you learn to dabble, tipping forward in the water to feed on submerged plants. Sometimes you go too deep, your tail pointing skyward as you fumble for balance. These moments of vulnerability cost many young ducks their lives. You learn to scan for danger before each dive. Your juvenile feathers come in patchy and dull, making you less attractive to potential mates later, but you survive. You watch other ducklings succumb to disease, parasites, or predators. The wetland teaches harsh lessons. Beauty is secondary to survival. Flight comes around week 8, after countless failed attempts that left you splashing awkwardly back into the water. Your first successful flight reveals a new world of dangers: power lines, buildings, and more skilled aerial predators like peregrine falcons. Adulthood brings new challenges. Your once brown feathers molt into more vibrant colors, making you more visible to predators. Winters force you to migrate, facing storms, exhaustion, and hunters. Some years, food is scarce. You learn to store fat when you can, never knowing when the next meal will come. As you age, your reflexes slow. Younger ducks push you from the best feeding spots. Your waterproofing isn't what it used to be, making cold days harder to endure. Each season becomes a greater test of survival, until finally, like most wild ducks, disease, predation, or the elements claim you before you reach your 10th year. You lived as all ducks do, constantly adapting, always alert, surviving not by strength alone, but through caution, learning, and sometimes just pure luck in a world that's rarely kind to waterfowl.